Okay, let's change the topic now to fentanyl. I think yesterday the Vancouver Police Department put out a press release at about 10 o'clock last night saying yesterday alone there were just 16 heroin overdoses. They're worried it's laced again with fentanyl and addicts are unknowingly ingesting it. We've had 3 examples of recreational drug users dying from drugs laced with fentanyl. Now they're seeing it across the country. Alberta's put out a warning. Nova Scotia's put out a warning. What's going on here?
Well, let me take this first. I actually wrote about this in today's Duel in 24 hours. I firmly believe we need to legalize pot and then crack down hard on hard drugs. I think that the process of the 4 pillars structure, the harm reduction, I think that's capitulation. And I just don't think that it's, it's working. Since 2013 to 2003, there was a 13% rise in the use of all these hard drugs across all of Canada. So clearly tolerance and leniency isn't doing it. And then when we're seeing BC Supreme Court judges overturning, 1-year minimum sentences for drug dealers and sending that to the Supreme Court of Canada, I think it's ridiculous. We need to crack down.
But I think the problem, if you crack down, you're going to get the exact opposite of what you want to have happen. Because if you start increasing enforcement and making drugs more and more difficult to get, then the price goes up. And then what happens is, I think one of the reasons that a lot of this stuff is cut with fentanyl is that it's really potent and it's really cheap.
Exactly.
So actual cocaine and heroin and all this stuff is more expensive. And if under a situation like that where the street prices of drugs skyrocket, there's huge incentives for them to cut with all this other stuff. So you'll see more people dying with fewer drugs.
But you're confusing crackdown being just on the drug dealers. I think we should crack down on the long-term repeat addicts. Because the harm just leniency. I mean,
what do you mean crack down on the addicts?
Well,
like throwing them in jail?
What I keep hearing over the last 2 days from health officials in the media when they're talking about what's going on, they're saying, yeah, we really need to warn the users that what's in their heroin could be harmful. Excuse me, heroin's harmful. We've lost this thing in our society.
But until yesterday, they've only been warning recreational drug users. Do we have a different set of rules for them as compared to the addicts then?
Well, I'm not too certain what do you mean by that in terms of warning. I think we should be cracking down. If you are a first-time offender and nonviolent, then we can give you some leniency. But if you're a repeat offender, right, in terms of using of heroin and all the, and you're not just a heroin user and not have anything else going on in terms of your criminal activity. There's a bunch of stuff going on, and we need to start putting these users also in jail.
I don't think that's going to do you any good, though. Like, if you put them in jail, they're not going to use while they're in jail. But when you let them out, they'll just go back to the
So capitulation, then. This is what I'm hearing from everybody.
No, but the problem is you have to accept and acknowledge the world in the way it is. And you can't simply apply the idea of being hard on drugs, because the states tried that, and it's been an absolute miserable failure.
But that's because they made pot illegal, though. That's because they made pot illegal. That's all because.
But you can apply it. You can shift the line on the other side of pot, or you can move it the other way and make cigarettes illegal or alcohol. Like, I don't think you have to set up the costs and benefits of each of the individual drugs. And you've got these hard drugs that are going to be expensive, and they're going to be more expensive if they're harder to get, and which means there's going to be an incredibly higher incentive to cut them with cheaper stuff.
So fair enough, but if you make them legal, like some people say, so we can control them and try to get the black market out, what's going to happen is the ingenuity of the illicit drug manufacturer is going to cook up even more potent combinations of drugs to feed into the black market. So you could say, okay, let's be more lenient, let's try to make heroin and cocaine and these things
legal. We're never going to legalize heroin or cocaine.
But I think if we set up like a Yelp review system, because honestly, and the problem is, I say Yelp facetiously, but the problem is people don't know what they're buying. Yes. They don't know from whom they're buying, and it's all just kind of a crapshoot.
So before you shoot up, you
get your little holographed certificate of appraisal or whatever for your line of Coke or something. But you laugh, but seriously, you need to know what you're getting. And the problem is that the people who produce the drugs in whatever far-off countries don't care.
And Asia mostly, right? Yeah, and it's coming through Vancouver and then spreading out through the rest of the country.
Absolutely, and let's not forget, guys, that there are users here in Canada that are seeking out the fentanyl. It's not just that it's being laced.
Oh, no, people are taking and using those patches. The crime comes when they mix it unknowingly, right? So you're taking it and your system can't handle it, whether you're an addict or a recreational drug user.
And the problem is, the economic problem is that there's no feedback mechanism to go back from the consumers back to the producers.
So no market mechanism.
It's a market failure, exactly.
So how is a young couple who buy heroin to smoke once a year going to find out who made that fentanyl in Mexico or Asia? That's impossible.
I don't have an ideal solution, but I'm just saying, like, this is a prime example of market failure. But under the model where it's legal to buy and sell heroin, then you could legally trace where it came from.
Are you saying that we should legalize
Absolutely
hard
not.
drugs?
I think it's a terrible idea, but I'm just pointing out that there are ways of solving particular aspects of the problem. I think the harm is not going to be putting the addicts in jail. I think the solution isn't putting addicts in jail. I think it's getting enough people off drugs so that the street price plummets, not because there's more drugs, but because there's fewer users.
We need to start making it really socially unacceptable. We need to start shaming hardcore drug users again. The people who support hardcore drug users shame everybody else for their non-politically correct behavior, and subsequently, for some reason, using heroin on a daily basis is gotten.
I don't think it's
so. Are we saying that having an addiction, you should be ashamed of it? You shouldn't go and seek help and get rehabilitation? And
I think a lot should.
But if you shame them, they're never going to be able to do that.
There's a whole bunch that aren't at all. They're not going. They're not on their way. They're not.
I don't think public ridicule it comes into being when you're thinking about shooting.
Well, they're not. Look, there's 15,000 ejections of heroin every day in the downtown east side alone. 15,000 in a 24-hour period.
But they're not doing it because it's cool.
No, I know,
like,
but
not,
they're addicted.
But I feel that
there isn't a just do it Nike swoosh on the side of their needle.
Tolerance and leniency is not decreasing the number. So I would like to put it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's been growing.
Where has it been growing?
Well, Stats Canada's the stats. I mean, I just wrote about it. It's 13% higher use over the last 10 years
in the country.
In the country, and growing and larger here actually in Vancouver.
Interesting.
And Quebec and Ontario.